words. He is the first and only IITian till date to have become the Chief Minister of the Union State. Our guest is the one who transformed the face of the city of Bangalore and single-handedly brought the International Film Festival of India to Goa. He has been a savvy entrepreneur and a dedicated public servant. Pioneer of social projects like the Dayanand Samajik Suraksha Yojana for the elderly and the cyberage scheme for the students, this politician's USP is honesty and integrity. Dear audience, I request all of you to give a welcoming round of applause to our guest today, Mr. Manohar Parrikar. With a bouquet. Thank you, sir. I'd now like to invite Professor Dilema to say a few words about our esteemed guest.
Good evening, everybody. I don't want to duplicate what has just been said, and I don't want to waste too much of your time. But I'll just relate a small incident or series of incidents that happened when I was working as the chairman of EDC under Mr. Parrikar, who was chief minister. And during EDC is a place where there's plenty of scope for non-ethical things. There is scope for non-ethical things. And Mr. Parrikar, as the chief minister, and I was reporting to him, very often sent some request that something should be done with respect to this. But he said, I leave the decision to you. And in many of those instances, if I was able to justify to him that this was not in the interest of EDC, he actually encouraged me. And this is something that sustained me for my whole period of stay in the EDC. This is saying something quite exceptional about a person. I can say at first hand, the relationship which I enjoyed in the EDC with Mr. Parrikar as the chairman. This is only an instance of personal experience which I must relate, which is relevant for today's talk. But rather than talk too much about these things, I would request Mr. Parrikar to please take the mic.
It is like when Nima told me that if I can spare some time to speak. One thing I'll tell, it's not the first time I'm speaking, but every time I stand at podium, in fact I prefer podium mainly because I shiver when I stand, I'm very nervous when I start. It's first few seconds, and many of you might have experienced it. I also experienced it on daily basis. After maybe about 1,000 speeches, you still have that experience. Anyway, when he told me you choose the subject, there were many subjects, but I still told him that I like to choose a subject which probably might not be very popular subject with speakers, but a subject which I consider as one of the utmost important. In fact, when I was coming in, I was asked a question, why do you think India is the most corrupt country? And probably I also, it's not most, but it ranks very high in number, somewhere around 144 out of 170 or 180 in corruption as well as transparency. Maybe both are linked. Ultimately all these are linked, and I just couldn't answer the question offhand. But when I started a thinking process in my mind. And before I could start with the subject, I realized it is most corrupt nation mainly because we don't give importance to ethics or character. And when you say what is the impact of ethics on managerial performance, I don't see only as a manager from industry viewpoint. I consider managing anything as a managerial function, whether it's managing state. A politician is a manager of the state. A manager like you who complete his or her degree will be managing a company, but a housewife manages the kitchen. So you require management at every stage. And why these managements go wrong? Why this management don't come up to the mark? And there was one single question. In fact, I remember once I had gone to Manohar College in Mamsa. And after the talk was over, I love to reply questions. Here also I love to have more questions than what I talk. Because in your talk you tend to include whatever things which come to your mind. And I don't speak from prepared text. Except the budget, my speeches were all you can't avoid. Other speeches were extempore and they were not written. So here also I just made some points. You tend to make points about things which came to your mind. But question answer probably brings out everything of the subject. And I would prefer that. So I asked students to ask me questions, and to my utter shock, one 12th standard girl, she asked me only one question: do you believe? Because I was a politician already, but not chief minister that time, not even leader of opposition. I was an MLA from Panji constituency, though I stay in Mamsa. She asked me only one fantastic question. She said, do you believe in honesty as the best policy? Now, this was a question, asking the question to a politician was itself a courageous act. And my reply was further shock to her because I said no. When I said no, those who knew me knew that there must be something hidden in it, in the reply. But since it was maybe third year of my term as an MLA, people in Goa did not know me to that extent. So they said they were all shocked when some politician bluntly says that honesty is the best policy. He said no. They were bluntly shocked. And after about 30 seconds to allow the impact to sink in, I just made another statement. I believe honesty is the best principle because your policy can change, your principle does not change. And honesty is a topic for me which cannot change. Policies, obviously, you decide a policy based on today price rise is going up, so the policy of the government may be for giving more on ration, PDS. Tomorrow there will be plenty, government will withdraw the PDS because it's a mechanism which puts a lot of wastage and a lot of loss to the government. So that is a policy. Honesty cannot be policy, it has to be principle of a person. And that's why when I came to this subject, I was reconsidering all the aspects. What are the reasons why we are a nation which does not have very high level for integrity? What is the reason why we are so corrupt? Is it in our genes? Like they say that Indians or Asians have genetic disposal towards a diabetic and a heart attack. This is one of the genetic problems which Indians have. Same way, are we having genes which makes us more corrupt? And then I realized that this is all comes in our education. And that is why many times I give importance to education. When I became chief minister, next day portfolios were not distributed. Next day all ministers were coming to me one by one, showing their preference. I had only told them that whatever preference you want. But whenever a minister, senior minister came in, I will not name the minister, I just indicated to him there are three things which are not negotiable. One is finance, the other is home. And the most important, I said, education. He said, huh? Education? Because no one asked education. But I maintain education with me because I believe that education is an important factor. When we learn, literacy is a basic factor for the education. But does education get over with the literacy? Then why don't you only teach people 8th standard, 10th standard? They can read, they can write, they can sign their signature. Obviously, you want someone to be educated, and there are maybe 1 in 1,000 get educated, and maybe 1 in a lakh is a wise. He has a wisdom. But education is an important aspect which probably we are lacking, and that is how the impact of ethical ratio comes. I remember a story, I always tell this story. Some of my friends have, in fact, I was thinking of having copyright on this story also. A lot of my friends, right from IIT, told me that they have told this story to many international audience also. Everyone has liked it. The story about my childhood. I am from Para, that's why the Parrikar surname comes. And that village was known for watermelons. Good quality watermelons was the specialty. In Goa, you have a specialty. Fish. You get mackerels. Mackerels from one place don't taste the same from the other place. I think any Goan will be able to tell you. Every village has a different taste. In Goa, this particular village, Para, which is very close to Mapsa, on the way to Kalambur, was very much known 30 years, 35 years back when I was in school for its watermelon, quality watermelons. Now, I still distinctly remember in my schooling days, in the month of May, the last 10 days of the month, we used to enjoy. We were waiting throughout the year, like they wait for Ganesh Chaturthi now. We used to wait for the last 10 days in May, and never left the village, even though it was vacation normally. Didn't go out of the village until the 31st May was over. The reason was very simple. There was sort of a program conducted by farmers who were cultivating these watermelons. And that program between 20th May and 30th May was very simple. All the kids were asked to come to the field, and they were given the best watermelon in the field. The best one, the big one, the sweet ones. The only condition which was there was you should not chew the seeds. You should split the seeds in a basket kept in the field. You could eat as much as you want. I never knew that the farmer used us as a cheap labor, child labor. Because to separate seed from watermelon is a very costly effort. You try it. Just try and separate the seeds from watermelon. You will find it very tedious task. So what we were actually doing while eating the watermelon, we were performing him as a almost free labor and giving him the seeds. Now the more important part to it, he was giving the best one in the field and as much quantity as we wanted. So we used to feel very elated about it. We thought that he is better. I used to think that this farmer is better than my father who brings the this side. We allow people to eat this big watermelon. And we used to come out of the field every day with we are almost tummy like watermelon. So that I enjoyed. I still remember it, but then I went to IITs. And when in the 1 or 2 years, probably I could not reach the village. After IIT, I went to the village again and checked up because of the various practical trainings and other things. I could not come back in the month of May. I went and asked my father that this year I want to buy some watermelons from Pala. He said, Pala, watermelons, they are no more of good quality. So I was surprised. And as student of genetics, though I am an engineer, I love genetics and I have a lot of books in genetics. I have read many things in genetics. I was wondering, and then it struck me suddenly. What had happened was very simple. The farmer was using us as a cheap labor. That's all right, but he was getting the seeds for his next season. And the seeds from the best watermelon. Probability of those seeds giving you the best watermelon was very good. Not 100%, maybe 80%. Now what happened? Down the line, his son, who started cultivating, realized that this big watermelon probably might fetch him 200 rupees in the market. Why waste it on kids? I want seeds. Why not give the medium size watermelon to the kids or use it for the seeds? He shifted from the best watermelon in the field to be given to the kids and getting the seed back to a medium level, deteriorating the quality of the seeds without knowing it. The farmer was not educated, but he had not done his genetics. But he realized that the best watermelon gives the best seed, and that in turn gives the best watermelon next year. But the greed of the son probably resulted into smaller size watermelon being used for the seeds, resulting into deterioration. Mind you, watermelons has a generation age of 1 year. That means this year's seed is used for next year. Human beings, we have generation age, one generation to other generation of probably 25 or 30 years. So in 20 years, in Parra, the watermelons from the best quality, the quality went down to a very poor quality watermelon and they stopped harvesting it, stopped cultivating it. That is because in 20-30 years there were 30 generations. Deterioration set in. In human beings, if the deterioration sets in, for 30 generations it will take 700 years, 600 years, maybe 300 years, 200 or 400 years. You won't know the impact of it. And that is why I feel that education should be given the best, because if you go on deteriorating, if your teacher was not of the same quality. I had teachers in my college in IITs. Someone asked me yesterday, the press media, the IIT professor going on strike, what is your comment? I said, very bad. As a student, we hated strikes in IIT. As a teacher also, I don't expect him to go on strike. Then he asked me, what is the reason why probably he is going on strike? I said, he is totally justified in asking for more salaries. But going on strike probably is the result of a mass spreading of IIT in a larger scale, spreading it thin. And that may be resulting into quality deterioration. And that is why I feel that ethics is an hallmark. Just imagine will you have any work to do if everyone starts behaving ethically? There won't be any managerial job left. You won't have much jobs. Because, and we are talking about ethics. I was in one chartered accountant seminar addressing them on type of financial controls. And it was right in the middle when American banks, they were teaching our chartered accountants mechanisms of how to give financial control mechanisms, how to keep control over the financial things. And it was right in the middle when news of American bank collapse was coming in. So all those management controls, so strict, were of no use if the persons who are implementing them does not have ethical standards. That is what happened. Everyone started manipulating the price or probably that mortgage or whatever it is, multiplying it unnecessarily beyond normal control. So everything ultimately depends on the person. And when I became chief minister, I still remember what is this ethical concept. A lot of people used to tell me there is corruption here, there is corruption there. I said, okay, how do I stop it? One fellow told me, then why don't you put vigilance on it? I said, vigilance is also corrupt. What do you do about it? If I use a stick to hit someone and that stick is not solid, it's already corroded, then the stick, instead of the person getting hit, the stick breaks. That is the condition of the vigilance. What do you do about it? So ethical standards ultimately can only result into a good managerial practice. Just think about brand names, think about companies. I am not taking. We were just discussing about the topic of the way. And my friend Siddharth told me, why don't you mention about certain companies? I don't want to name the company. But one name which probably has a very high standard, ethical standard in India. And I would buy a product made by that company without even asking for the second time. The other name, both names are equally in discussion. The other name is also in the discussion for wrong reasons. And with any person I have discussed about that company, who have dealt with that company, has given me feedback that it's very difficult to deal with this company. They don't have ethical standards. So ultimately ethics on the performance also helps you build a name. And that is why I feel that ethical behavior is one of the best possible managerial function. And it has no alternative. I remember a story about one French ruler, Louis XIV, around 1628 to 1648. He ruled France. And those are the days when they ruled, they were king, but they were also quite responsible to the people. And this particular Louis XIV had a very flair for Jyotish. And he had so many astrologers in his darbar, about 8-10 of them, the best ones, who could predict any future event accurately. The best one of them once had gone to his palace, and the king was sitting there discussing with him. It so happened that one of the youngest queen was favorite with this king. She came in that room. When the Jyotishi saw her, after she left the room, he told king that this wife of yours, queen, is going to die on the 8th day from today. The king was surprised, taken back. He thought that okay, Jyotishi can predict, but can he tell so accurately that on 8th day she will die? So he laughed it away. But unluckily for him, the queen actually suddenly expired on the 8th day. Now there was another dilemma. The king became paranoid. He was so much shocked with that prediction of the Jyotishi that he started fearing it. And he started thinking that this man has a capacity of black magic rather than Jyotish. So he started thinking, today he predicted my wife's death. Tomorrow he will start predicting my death and make it happen. So it is not tolerable. If I have to survive as a king, I have to get rid of this Jyotishi. Now even he may be king, still he has a limitation. He just can't kill the Jyotishi. So he thinks about an idea. How do you do it? No supari. So he calls that astrologer to his big building, the palace, on the 7th floor. Thinks that I will push him out of the plans that I will push him out of the window from the 7th floor. Obviously, from 7th floor, someone falls, he is going to die. And he doesn't do it. He tells his bodyguard that when I make signal, you just push this man. I'll take him to the window. I'll make signal to you, you push him out. He will fall and die. So he plans that and turns around to give signal to that bodyguard to push that Jyotishi out of the window. That suddenly thinks about some other question and asks that Jyotishi, now you are so known, you predicted my wife's death so accurately. Can you predict your own death? The king asked him. He knows now in the next 5 minutes the Jyotishi is going to die. So he asked him this question. Jyotishi is a smart fellow, he realizes there's something wrong. So he thinks and then says that Jyotishis are not permitted to see their own kundali. I can't predict my own future. I can predict yours, I can predict someone else's, but I can't see my own future because that is our condition when we learn this vidya. But I have seen your kundali and I can predict your death. I can see that your death is exactly 72 hours after mine. The pushing never happens. And the king the Jyotishi not only survives, the king gives an order next day to the medical doctor of the darbar that from tomorrow you first go and check that Jyotishi first and then come. So I would say that ethics is like this. In a managerial functioning, ethical behavior, ethical standards probably does not have an alternative. There is no alternative to an ethic. And once that is established, probably everything else may be only your intelligent application of your mind, your learning for getting good results. Now, whatever I have to say, I have said. Don't know whether taken enough time, maybe 25 minutes. But I would prefer more questions from you. Thank you.
You talked about the quality of education and you emphasis on education that you're talking about. We have seen recently that the government has had this new IITs that have come up, about 13 new, as in 13 IITs that we have as of now. The essence is right from the government that they want education quality, but hasn't the quality really gone down from the IITs?
There are two aspects to it. One of the reasons why professors are striking is mainly because their salaries are not in tune with their qualification. When you have an engineer as a professor, obviously, and when PhD, engineering PhD as a professor, you have to pay him in a very reasonable, within say 60-65% of what industry pays, at least, if not 100%. Then only there will be good teacher available. During my time, when Bombay IIT, for example, had about 1500 students, our total faculties were 300. 5:1 was or maybe 4.5:1 was the ratio. Now, so many faculty who have engineers who have liking for teaching were easily available. Today, the number of students have gone to 7,000. Leave aside of IITs, number of IITs. The number of students in each IIT, the original IIT also has almost tripled or increased 4 times. Now, when that has happened, the number of teachers are not available. And to attract talent, you require to match the industry salary. Not all will come because they love teaching. There are some people, certain percentage who love teaching and they will prefer lesser salary to a teaching post or a prestigious field. So not only creating 13 more IITs was an erroneous step. There is no problem creating, but that should have happened in a phased manner, and that should have also happened with complete autonomy to the IITs, including financial autonomy. I believe that you create an endowment funds like Howard, Massachusetts, MIT, all those institutes have. In fact, some of them have $30-40 billion as endowment, and they pay their professors. And that is the best way. You can pay more. Today we are getting trapped into a government scale. I think the scale matter should be removed. If that is removed, probably they will maintain some of the qualities. Ultimately, it's like someone asked me whether IIT gives you a good name or you give. I said it's both ways. IIT's got the name because their students performed. It's not only IIT. Initially, when IIT students went, no one knew what is IIT. Those students who went to US, UK, even in India, wherever they went, they performed. Once they started performing, someone started noting that those who are coming from IIT are performing better than the others. So automatically that means the institute is good. That was the type of mental setup which took place. Now the IITs have become famous. Students get credit because he is from IIT and IIT gets credit because so many graduates from it has performed. So it's a sort of a both ways benefit. But because of that, the name IIT is performing, but if you don't take care of that name by allowing it to remain with the same glitter, then slowly the name will start losing its shine. So that is a danger after this 13, 10, 13. Some of them have not even given. Some of them are performing from some other institute. Like Bombay IIT is doing job of IIT Indore. Now, one who was acting as a principal in Goa Engineering College, he had an MOU with IIT, was asked to retire by Goa government because he became 65. IIT incidentally has increased the age of professors to 65. So he was just retiring from IIT and they give retired professors to other MOU institutes. So he went from here, he was given the task of setting up of Indore IIT. I asked him how many students he has admitted. He said that we have already admitted 240. So they are now working through rented apartments, which I think is not exactly a right way. Not because they are working from apartment. Apartment is okay. Structural things can take place. But your academic performance cannot be multiplied like that. That is a wrong decision. Possibly they may absorb it, but I hope they don't try and extend it, diluting the brand name IIT.
Because it was in the news that 450 students have actually refused to get into IITs, and they said we get into some other institute because the quality is not that great in the recently opened IITs.
The recently opened IITs, except one or two, none of them have actually started functioning. They have been just at initial year steppers, but they don't have proper setup from academic side also. I am not talking about infrastructure. IIT Bombay started from Sasmira, opposite passport office. There is an institute called Sasmira. There was a building where IIT started. The basic structure of the full campus was done afterwards. That is not a criteria, but the teaching faculty and some other facilities must be in place, at least to an extent, to start the unit.
You talked about the IITs getting publicity because of their students going abroad to other countries and then performing well over there. So do you think it is ethical that there is this brain drain, that students study in the IITs in India and then go abroad and then perform over there?
First of all, don't take my comment wrongly. Worldwide, if you have to get a fame or a name, then the name can come only from a student who has traveled to the US. However intelligent me or you are, if you are from IIT or you are from IIT, we can't give the name to the institute that easily unless we do some break type of research or performance to the institute by staying in India. So I am not supporting, I personally refuse to go abroad. I don't believe that you can perform only through US. In fact, brain drain has, the Indian brain drain has actually helped US develop. And it stopped only when IT became hallmark of the technical knowledge. So that is not justified. But one of the reasons is possibly there is not justified. There are not proper opportunities in India from 20 years. If you see now, I don't think IITians they go for studies. They go for post-graduation, they go do their PhDs, take some experience. But many of them return back to India. Because there are enough opportunities, and I feel my statistics indicate that many of them come back to India and set up their own units. Incidentally, those who perform, you must have read Chetan Bhagat's 5.5 pointer. It's absolutely true. Those who are between 5.5 and 7.5 perform the best. That is our experience. Those who are top rankers, they become academicians, professors in many of the institutes. But in real world, possibly those middle rankers, it's not that they are bad, but they have made too many activities besides education. In IIT also, we have what we call as Maqbool. There are intelligent students who could have performed much better than what they have performed. But there are others who only do studies. So they perform much better because they concentrate on studies. But there are others who do a lot of other activities. But those activities indirectly help. For example, my personal experience, all humanity courses, I had taken management, finance as my subjects, elective. Except ethics, which I took as an elective subject, where I got A. The rest of the subjects I got C and B, and I got A, pulling down my CPM by almost about 0.5. So that much impact it had over the 5 years. But now others who might have taken subjects like ethics 1, ethics 2, ethics 3, you might have got A everywhere. And pushed his marks higher. So there is basically a problem. But going abroad is not justified.
So having lived all my life in IIT Bombay, you made me quite homesick today. But bringing back the discussion to Goa, having lived in Goa for the last 1.5 years, what I have observed is there are many developmental plans, many ambitious ones which can raise the lifestyle of the people here even higher, are opposed by various groups on various grounds, be it environment or people or anything. How do you suggest that we come at a common ground between development and interest of the people and other different groups within Goa?
There is lack of confidence in the society about the politicians who are executing this project. The reason is because people don't see them. That is exactly the topic I am actually discussing. The ethical behavior and its impact on managerial performance. As a minister or chief minister, the managerial performance requires you to ensure that people are confident about your projects. Opposition always comes. I had opposition when I constructed a double bridge at Panti, which I constructed, you must be not knowing, since you are here for 1.5 years. I did it in 6 months. There are 284 piles starting from river Mandavi up to Children's Park at Kapal. So that full promenade is reconstructed on piles. Now there was opposition to that. That bridge was also opposed. Today, if that bridge was not there, I asked many of the people who opposed me that time, what if the bridge was not there? Today, Panti would have been mass, traffic mass. You would not have been able to take your vehicle there. That bridge is actually reducing the traffic pressure. So, opposition was there all that time also. But probably most of the people believed that what I am doing is doing it for better. So, the opposition was not to the extent where I had to stall the project. There were some NGOs in Goa, sometimes they say, don't take me wrongly, but a lot of people get retired from their shippies or they are abroad, they retire early, they have no work, they come back and sometimes that results in an NGO. This kind of activity also happens in Goa. But many of you said the joking part of it, many of the opposition from local people or NGOs are out of apprehension that a particular project is not in their interest, but it is in the interest of the politician to make money. Secondly, it's also an apprehension that we are being overrun. Suppose a village is there, own village is there, having population of say 2,500. You put 500 flats there, you are putting in almost 2,500 new people. You are changing the demographic content of the village. How does the village take it? This is not a city. For example, Bombay don't have any demographic setup, but Goa has. So you can't go on changing that demographic setup. So all this is because of greed, which probably some of the businessmen, builders, and some politicians have shown. It's not because the development, it's because people believe that the development is not for the benefit of the state, but for the benefit of the politician. That is the reason. I don't think that.
So how do you intend to inculcate faith within the people that the development plans that the government has is for their benefit?
That has to be shown by the character of the politician or the person who promotes it. One of the reasons India is facing problem today, and the corruption problem. I remember a story of, I have a habit of telling stories, because stories will be better. I'll tell you a small narration of a story which I read in Sandova. I don't know whether anyone of you read Sandova. Maybe about 40 years back, I used to read it. And the story is very simple. There is a king who is a very good donor, gives a lot of donations, and considers himself or starts building up ego that he is like a colonel, a very big donor. So the Indra, he comes down to wants to teach this king a lesson. He goes to him and tells him that, okay, why don't you donate your character to me? He says, okay, no problem, I'm such a big donor that I'll donate anything. But how do you donate character? Indra says, okay, I will give you a mantra, so say that after me, and let off some water on my hand, the character will come to me. Nothing happens. And the king forgets about the incident altogether. But when he goes to sleep at night, when he is sitting on the bed, praying, suddenly he realizes there is a sort of form, lady form, which comes out of his body and starts walking towards the door. So he stops that lady form, asks her, who are you? She says, I am your character. He says, where are you going? You have donated me, so I am going to the person you have donated. He also keeps quiet because he knows that he has donated his character. She goes away. He starts thinking again. About 1 minute, after 1 minute interval, another body form comes out. Again, a lady, and starts walking. So he asks her, who are you? She says, I am Saraswati. You know what is Saraswati? Education. Vidya. Then, where are you going? I have not donated you. I have donated character, but I didn't donate Vidya. She says, where there is no character, there can be no Saraswati. So she walks away. After the third form comes out, again he asks, who are you? She says, I am Lakshmi. Everyone will know Lakshmi. So he says, why are you going? I have not donated you. He says, where there is no character, no Saraswati, there can be no Lakshmi. Today in India, we have a problem because we have elected politicians without character. That is why the country does not hold either the Saraswati or the Lakshmi. That is my reading in nutshell. And I think your problem is answered through that. People don't have confidence about politicians. That's why they don't want to give their destiny in the hands of politicians. You may ask me why they elect. There are various reasons for it. Not only because people elect.
We are not left the politics.
Huh?
We are not leaving the politics.
It has left the country because you have elected politicians or the rulers without character. Therefore, neither the Vidya nor the Lakshmi is there in the country as a whole. Individually, you may make money, that's different. I am just trying to give it a. Here also there is no confidence. It's a crisis of confidence, crisis of character. Alma. If you have confidence in some people, my own personal experience I tell you, when I came from IIT for business, a particular moment I had issued a check with the company which probably does not have very high ethical standard. They told me that I will give you 30 days credit, but didn't give me that credit. Filled in the check and deposited it. The check came to the bank. It was not today. Today the checks all come through electronic and they have to be cleared. But those were the days when bank managers could even keep the check for a month in the drawer. The check came to the bank through clearing. And I had no money in that account. The bank manager cleared the check of lakhs of rupees only because he knew my father. And he said that I know your father, whatever happens, your father will see that once he is guaranteed to the account, he will pay the account. So his character helped me in the business not once, 3-4 times. I realized the importance of character in my life, in my business, that time. Of course, nowadays bank don't do that.
Because of the lucrative career opportunities available in the engineering field, because of the lucrative career opportunities available in the engineering field, more and more in the field of engineering.
Engineering?
Yeah. More and more students are graduated towards taking the field, means engineering.
It's not so good for the country.
Yeah. And that's why, yes sir, that's why pure sciences are lagging behind.
Someone told me this 30 years back, I would have worked for physics.
Sir, what we should do in order to make the pure science field also a bit more lucrative than what it is at present?
Make science an elective. God made science a mystery. I never knew when I was studying in 7th, 8th, 9th how the mathematics comes to my mind. I never knew it. Let me be frank. Many times in SSC I still remember 11th standard. On at least 3 occasions I tested my teacher. I feel bad about it. By putting up questions which were embarrassing to him, he was not able to solve them. I could solve them. my ego, which was as risen so high, was virtually deflated when once I came back from IIT and was with collar tight, as you call it. One friend of my father, he came to the shop and he asked me where I am. I'm not so busy. And I used to help my father in the shop. I told him I'm in IIT Bombay, from the pride. When my father came to the shop, this gentleman who is his friend asked him, why have you sent your son to Bombay when there are so many ITIs available in Goa? I never used my degree after that. That was ego deflation. I realized it was good. But I feel that what you are saying as a meaning, we should make science very easy, not make it some mystery. Though I agree that you require natural talent also for the science, still that natural talent many times don't come because of the complication in teaching. More science, the pure science only will ultimately develop the engineering. You are right about it, but can't help it. Lakshmi ke liye kई लोग भागते हैं.
So, being an engineer from IIT, you had a lucrative career option. Can you share with us what attracted you to politics, or what gave you the confidence that you could make a difference in politics?
First of all, let me be very clear, politics is not my profession. My earning comes still from my business. I have a factory manufacturing hydraulic equipment. Politics is not my bread and butter.
Yes, sir. But what
Let me
attracted
be
you?
very clear about it. Number one, nothing attracted me. I still tell it in a very simple story I read in my childhood. You have gone to Nasik. Nasik is a place where the river flows, and on many occasions these rivers are flooded. Even when there is no rain at Nasik, because the rains are in the Ghat. So one such river is, I read this story, river is flooded and people are watching the flood from the bridge. Some people also catch those wooden trees which come. Suddenly they find one person drowning in the floods and no one tried to help him. So everyone says, "Arey jump, jump, bhago, bhago, koi to usko bachao." Koi bhagta nahi. Suddenly one person jumps. Then everyone claps. People throw rope at them. Somehow they manage to drag both of them to the shore. And everyone rushes to that man who jumps in the flooded river to congratulate him for his daring. But this man, instead of taking the congratulation, is looking around. So one of his friends asked him, "What are you looking around?" "I am trying to read that. I am trying to locate who pushed me." I still don't know who pushed me in politics. It was not intentional. It was a very maybe fate. I had decided on personal level that I will not go in politics. But suddenly I found myself as a direct candidate for Lok Sabha. We were given the task to find out a candidate for BJP in Goa. Then BJP was getting 0.4% votes. Who will contest? No one was contesting. Someone told Mahajan that why you are looking around? This man is good enough for candidate. So I got the ticket. I was pushed to it. Anyway.
So coming back to the theme of ethics, the way I look at it from a position of a senior politician or a chief minister, it is probably easy to drive ethics from a top-to-down approach. How easy is it for a common citizen to function in an ethical way in a machinery which is unethical and corrupt?
I have found one thing in my personal life, even before coming to I tell you one story about myself. When I came from Mumbai, I was motorbike. I did my MTech of that. I couldn't finish it because of some reason. I was a student leader, and then there were strikes and all those things. So I thought I will do my project afterwards. I did 1.5 years. Projects were left, but I could never finish it. Leave it as part of it. But when I came back, I came to the motorbike which I had purchased there. It was a MTY, Maharashtra registration. And police here used to stop that vehicle. But I never paid bribe to anyone. After about 6 months, I realized no one is stopping me because whenever I was stopped, I used to argue with the policeman. The result was he always lost 5-6 more customers. Again talked with each other and gave signal that वो लाल कलर का MTY 2909 vehicle वो थोड़ा पागल लगता So my experience was that whenever I fought, I have managed to do. I have not bribed in my life. I am making this statement very clearly. I have not bribed in my life. Once there is a corollary to it, rider to it. I have also decided that if it comes to life and death situation, I may reconsider. Let me be frank. A life and death situation, I may have to consider. Once it came very close to that, but I didn't have to fight with it. So I can tell you, even before becoming Chief Minister, I could survive without bribing. It's you don't have to impose your principles on others. That is another aspect. As a Chief Minister, I was using only one car. My car was never used by my family. As I told you, I always traveled economy class. Once the Air India fellow asked me why I travel economy and don't take even the free upgradation. They upgrade free because of frequent travel. Now when they upgrade, the problem is very embarrassing. We had taken a decision not to go by business class. I told him this reason. See, if I sit in business class, person who comes in the plane will not know that I have not paid for it. He is not going to ask me, who is going to ask Chief Minister or Leader of Opposition, why he is sitting in a business class. He is going to say that, this man also promised that he is not going to travel by business class, but he travels. So he will lose faith in politicians, whatever faith he has established. So that is the reason why I travel in economy and I don't take upgradation. I refuse upgradation even now. Thank you, because by frequent flying and all those, I am entitled for those upgradations free of charge. That is not a problem. The problem is people cannot, will not know what is the reason why you are upgraded. So you have to not only look honest, you have to also appear to be honest. Once you do that, I don't think anyone will come anywhere near you. You won't have problem surviving as an ordinary citizen also. So it always has its cost, but it has also its advantage. As I said, that the signal gap is this motorcycle should not be stopped. Probably after that once or twice I might have broken the law, but I didn't get offended. So they were not after me. But one thing, today it will not be very so easy to establish uprightness from the bottom. That does not mean people at the bottom should be corrupt. But it will not be, no one will be able to establish it through the bottom. If you all decide we will be clean, it's not so easy. So whistleblower and all those media campaign may not sustain that way, though it has its own value. If you want India without corruption, I think you will have to select the top leaders who are clean. Anything more?
So there is,
I think two more questions, 2 or 3.
so we deal of this concept of equal distribution of wealth across the country, and there is the people from Bombay constantly complain that Bombay pays the maximum taxes, but Delhi gets the maximum benefits. So also there was a public perception in the wake of IFFI coming to Goa that Panjim got all the attention and the rest of Goa was neglected. So is that a justified claim, or is it? I belong to Aldana, but I've stayed in Bombay all throughout my life.
Yeah, if you belong to Aldana, you must have seen
The bridge.
The Aldana, Korea.
So, but still the
How
public.
only attention was given to Panjim.
But Panjim, you still feel.
You are in Aldana.
I agree to you, but
So you see yourself. There is a world-class, top-class bridge in Aldana, Korea, and from Korea to Koira again. So what I am trying to point out is there are so many developments, like someone introduced me, and while introducing talked about cyberage scheme. Cyberage scheme I introduced in 2002. Negroponte introduced it in 2005. So my introduction is 3 years earlier. He thought of it is 3 years earlier. I don't consider that as a hallmark. My hallmark is actually interest-free loan scheme. Interest-free grant scheme to the colleges and schools. Today you see good schools all over the country, state, even the primary, secondary, in good shape, is because almost 60 crores were pumped in by me into the schools. Every city and every place requires different kind of upgradation.
So, but places like Panjim, you relatively find Panjim garbage free, but the rest of Goa has a big garbage problem, which apparently there is no concrete solution as yet.
See, the garbage problem had just started that time. We made an experiment in Panji because I had a council which was controlled by my president. So I could tell him and make an experiment. We made an experiment which was successful. Unluckily, the people after that did not follow that experiment. That same thing should have been followed all over the state. The problem was not there, non-existent. As far as attention is concerned, I got only 51 months. When I started as the Chief Minister, the overdrawing on 24th October 2000, the bank account of Government of Goa was overdrawn by 56.83 crores, which is overdraft at that time of the Goa government. That means not a single rupee was available in the account even after overdrawing. That means in order to make your account operating, you have to first pay 57 crores, 56.84 crores, and then make it. My problem was 30th was salary day, October. 6 days I had. That was the condition of the state. When I left, there were 273 crores in the account, plus. What I am trying to point out is I had to start from bottom. And not all things can come in one shot. They take some time.
You're talking about inculcating ethics at the top level in the government. How do you justify BJP expelling several key leaders just for talking about or writing books about a specific person?
Well, I am not a BJP leader at national level. So I don't think I am in good position to answer that. But I will, first of all, BJP has expelled only one leader. If you ask me personally, not as a party spokesman, well, I am not supposed to, my authority does not reach center. Personally, no one can be expelled without giving proper hearing, proper reading, and proper opportunity. This is firm belief I have got. If you believe in democracy, you cannot expel someone like that. Not a person of Jaswant Singh level, though many actions of Jaswant Singh had harmed the party. If you ask me as a party member, not as a public figure, I will say that expulsion probably was overdue. The Rajasthan government laws, probably Jaswant Singh had his, we know from internal, he had a lot of decisions created which resulted to loss in Rajasthan. So it's not that he is injured, or everyone, but the method was probably not a right method.
A major problem affecting our country is the division of the society based on political grounds, religious grounds, mostly due to political motive. Couldn't ethics come to a rescue there?
Yes, good. King, when I say king, a democratically elected leader is a, for pro purpose, is a king. Just to understand, cannot deal with his citizen based on his caste, creed, or anything. So he should get justice irrespective of his caste, gender, any other matter. That is the citizen of Goa. For example, if a Chief Minister of Goa is there, it is his duty to ensure that every citizen of Goa gets justice. So division in a good government or good governance, division is not an issue at all. And that is the only way you can...
we have kingship, we are using the same religion and same grounds to reach that.
There are politicians who do that. It's not right. That is the problem of the country.
What could we do? How could we inculcate steps to prevent that in our
Vote across, not based on caste and creed. Vote on merit to a political setup. Don't vote to a individual. Individual can never perform.
Direct tax code now. Direct tax code. We have now. Can we not have a ethics code?
Ethics cannot A code cannot replace a behavior. I believe that code, laws, they are good. They have to be there. But ultimately the human being has to believe in it. Otherwise you will find means and methods of circumventing it or bypassing it, as they do it for tax laws. They somehow manage to circumvent it. Same way, ethic codes also, people will question the very idea of it and also circumvent. I for one believe that if you are in a public platform, your everything should be available on a public platform to the people. I am ready for any scrutiny at any time, as long as I am in the public. The day I decided I retire from politics, I will tell people that you cannot even peep into my house. You cannot ask me what I do. But till I am there in the public life, everything I do should be available to any person without any hesitation. I am ready to. If let anyone ask me what you do with this, what you do with that, I am ready to give him all the documents, all accounts, everything. Not that I am not saying that I am flawless or I don't make mistakes, but there are no intentional mistakes or intentional cheating. There might be some mistakes, who knows? So many things we enter, we can also make mistakes. But intentional it is not. So I am ready to put everything on public platform, including my tenure as a chief minister. That's why when someone complained that there is a fraud in, actually I will tell you, fast track projects don't give you money in kickbacks. Because in fast track project like INOX, which I did, we had to take decision within 72 hours. And money is paid by a contractor only when you keep his file in a drawer. Here was a case where I had to sign files many times on the site. When I had gone for inspection or checking, they used to come with the file. And I used to only check the remark of the general manager or the MD of the corporation and sign the file. If he has recommended, I have always told him, you recommend or you reject. If you have recommended, I will only sign it, accept it. So, fast track project technically don't give you kickbacks. It is DA project which results into kickback. But I was allegation. So I said, okay, go ahead, give it to CBI or any organization you want. They gave it to CBI twice. Once CBI rejected. Second time my information says CBI told them there is nothing in it. So you should be ready for any public scrutiny of your character, your behavior and your whatever you do. There is no harm in it. Why should you? That is, you ask for that, and then you will realize that many things get corrected already.
Can we have one last question?
So I just wanted to know your views. What are your views on the reservation in the IITs and the IIMs? Do you think it's deteriorating the quality of students in any way?
I was in IIT in 73 to 78 undergraduation. That time was 5 years. Not that I stayed more. And Maybank it goes in now 4 years. You may not know. My time it was 5 years. And 79 to 80 for post graduation. I never found, and even in Goa as chief minister, I always realized one thing, that OBC create non-creamy layer percentage and general percentage almost match. In IITs also they matched, 0.5% maybe. Scheduled caste, scheduled time, there was slight difference. Scheduled caste, scheduled time, and there were preparatory courses for them because their quality of education they receive is lacking. So I don't believe that reservation has resulted into any change in their structure much. One thing you remember, that maybe in certain class of society, percentage of intellectual, like for example, if it, I'm not talking about the caste sense, but to understand, in Brahmins for example, you will find higher percentage of students who get good marks. Obviously because that was a part of the society which was going for education. So there is a genetic concentration in intelligence. There are some people, for example, Kshatriya, they will have a genetic concentration of fighting. So all these kind of genetic preferences will be there. But I will tell you, in 100 crore population, to select some 10,000 and 50,000 students, you don't find much difference because There may be slightly more concentration, but there are enough intelligent in every community and every class. So I don't think IITs, IIMs have any impact of reservation on quality. The impact of quality in IITs will be because of this dilution due to sudden multiplying of the seats.
It will be hampering the development of the section of the society that is given reservation. The basic idea of reservation would be flawed.
Basic idea of reservation is perfect. The reservation concept, it has been misused by politicians and it has been mauled by politicians to a level where they have divided the society between mandal and non-mandal. It's not like that. The basic concept is a part of society which has lack of opportunity should be given some opportunity to come to the level and speed of the others. There is no compromise on quality in the real concept. But the way it has been put, that I have reserved for you, therefore you vote for me. The logic I tell you, okay, you give in IITs, maybe there are 10,000 seats, you give 27%. I tell you 25% would be there as it is. So you are only adding 2 or 3%. Leave that, even if 27% is given, it is only 2,700. The OBC population of the country is 40 crores. How does that make any impact on OBC? But in order to make impact, you tell them that okay, I have done something for you. So that politicization actually spoiled it. The concept is not wrong. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Goa Institute of Management, I express our profound and sincere thanks to Mr. Parrikar for giving us such an interesting and enlightening talk on the importance of ethics, not only in management but in all walks of life. We all knew about the concept of ethics, but sir, today we realized its significance in the true sense. I once again thank you for sparing time from your busy schedule and sharing your experiences and ideas with us. I now request